Drew Niv, for whoever needs an introduction, CEO of TraderTools and Chief Strategy Officer at ATFX. Thanks for coming.
My pleasure to be here.
So, we're witnessing a crypto boom since Trump was elected. How do you see it in your eyes?
I see it. I think crypto is kind of one of those things that kind of has lived, flourished, died again. And I think that now it's, back in not for a very sustainable reason, right? So I think that, as far as crypto standalone, I don't have a particular view. But my view for, if you look at our industry here, for retail CFD FX brokers, the crypto boom now is a more sustainable boom because you're going to have a much bigger room in the United States, right, for it to be deregulated in a way that really allows it to flourish like it can in the other parts of the world. And the amount of money, therefore, that is available to crypto, right, from investors, right? There's no pockets like American VC pockets are the deepest pockets for startups. And once those really grab a hold of the industry, there is, from our perspective in FX and CFDs, a big risk that all those players are going to come for our wallet, right? Because I think if you look at my standalone crypto view is, if you look at the last 10 years, like how many real world uses of crypto there are, very few. But as a, speculation, mode of investment, like it is something that it for sure is going to come and compete with FX CFDs more aggressively, even to the point of a crossover of the largest exchanges coming over and offering FX and CFDs to a client base that is, largely crypto. So I think that has good and bad. I think it'll broaden the market, like every other trend that broadens the market, but it'll definitely inject a higher level of competition that if I look at like most of, usually today, when you say new competitor in FX and CFDs, is a small broker that was small and nobody knew who they were, and now they're big.
Yeah.
Where now you're going to have somebody who's very big, who's going to come from another industry, is going to land parachute from the top with a big brand, with a lot of things that we don't have.
So how can CFD brokers adapt to it?
So I think part of it is that we have to, as an industry, this industry cannot, has been very stationary in many ways, right? Platform usage, in terms of our client interaction, right, has been pretty identical, right, as an industry for over a decade, right? And I think that you have to get, beyond all of this, right? And FX firms are all hunting the same Bibu client. They're all going after the same type of stuff. And if you don't go wider, because the crypto firms are going to spread out to a fairly large, group of clients that we are not touching.
Very fast.
Right? Very fast, right? And if we don't essentially go and cast a wider net, right, to a different use case and different thing, I think we're going to get, left behind. It'll be the small, even the firms that are big here, okay, have a few $100 million in revenue, we're talking about, versus a few billion that's coming, right? Not just crypto firms, by the way, the Robin Hoods of the world, like big discount stockbrokers, trading 212 in the UK, the online banks like Revolut, those people are going to come with a completely different, scale to the business.
Interesting times.
Yeah.
Let's move on to prop trading. You recently launched a new offering. What are your expectations out of this, and maybe how unique is it compared to other offerings?
Sure. I think, I've said this before, and I think that prop trading, which, if you asked me 3 years ago, I'd be like, this is silly, and, how much, it's not realistic.
Child's play.
It's child's play, but actually I've been very surprised, and over the last 12, 18 months, I would say this has been kind of telling brokers, hey, this is where all the risk near term is coming from. This is all the competition, and prop firms are going to change the landscape in our industry in a huge way. Just because our industry is largely a marketing exercise, right? And these guys have 20 times the web traffic that FX industry does, right? And that web traffic is not all relevant and not all good, but it's an exponentially more attractive value proposition to the client, and therefore it's attracting a much wider, base of clients. And so that is going to present the industry with like a huge challenge. And I think, so what you're starting to see this year is a lot of brokers, starting to say, okay, we have to adapt. And this is, I think, a very positive development. It's one of the things why ATFX, is launching in this. One, because we have to, because of that thing I said. But two, because the reason why the web traffic is so high, it isn't a great value proposition because it's unrealistically good. And it's unrealistically good in a much different way than, think about retail FX trading. We took regular institutional markets and made the trading size smaller, the leverage higher, everything from UI to onboarding more friendly, and we essentially made it a mass market, what used to be an institutional market, right? And to some degree, a lot of the trading terms are unrealistically good that you couldn't get in the real market, right? But prop firms took that to a whole new level, right? And unsustainable in a way that the reneging rate of saying you earned this, but not really, actually you didn't win, is super high, right? And that makes that industry very jumpy and unsustainable, which is why most people didn't take it seriously, because they think with that, it's not going to change, right? Therefore, it will die. But like retail FX morphed over 2 decades, this industry will too. And I think part of what we've done at ATFX is we're going to launch a more sustainable prop offer, right? That is not going to be as great a value proposition to the end user because it's not so unrealistically good, but it is also going to be a more honest one, and therefore one that we can stand behind as a broker that has real reputation, and not just some unregulated company that doesn't have to worry about it. And I think that and it's going to actually accentuate to say, hey, there are going to be less winners because you have to be good at trading to be a winner, but the winners are going to get a bigger prize, meaning that not just that they're going to be able to make money from live trading and get a piece of the profits, but be able to do copy trading, that other people can follow them, can kind of incubate them as money managers potentially. Again, do you have to get to a much higher level? Yes. There's going to be a lot of people? No. But the winners will get a higher reward, and that's the way everyone knows common sense about trading. The majority of humans are not going to be consistently good traders.
So essentially brokers said, if we can't beat them, join them.
Yes. Yeah, of course. And it's going to morph the industry. So the industry today lives on subscription fees and essentially calibrates its payouts to how much subscription fees do I get. The brokerage industry has much more flexibility because the brokerage industry can say, I don't have to live on subscription fees, because I also have trading revenues and account balances, and so I could actually, instead of paying for leads, someone's paying to be a lead, right? And I can go pitch them to be an FX client. And in today's world, those conversion rates are not high, but over time, as we get more realistic offerings, the conversion rates will be higher. The funnel will be different, right? So I think that's the new challenge, right, for all the brokers, is how do you make it pay off in multiple ways, not just the normal way that prop firms are, and therefore change the value proposition. And what you're going to see over you're already seeing it, there's a dropping in subscription fees, there's lots of things that 2 years from now, will the standalone prop firms be able to compete with the brokers if the brokers are doing it right? Probably not. Right? But if the brokers can get the risk reward, right, in terms of, because you still have to be as attractive to the client, that is still the unanswered question, like how do you make it?
2023 was bad for brokers, a difficult year. In your eyes, how do you summarize 2024, which you're saying bye-bye in a month now?
It wasn't the best year, but it was a much better than 2023.
How do you measure that?
So I would say from two things. One is consistency of P&L was better. Okay, so brokers, I think, made, more consistent amount of money. Where in 2023, brokers were really up shit's creek without a paddle for like 7-8 months, and then made a lot of money at the end. But there was a very long period of time where the industry went through a lot of turmoil financially, and therefore underneath that, in people and all that, 24 much smoother. But I think 24 was also a good year because, we had sort of this, people came out stronger, and I think people not everybody, of course, but some people have said, taking the lessons 2023 and say, okay, we are going to go and do different, right? So based on 2023, that's when, TraderTools and ATFX, married each other in that way to say, hey, we have to bring a different, a set of skills and a different capability to change the way things work, because nobody wants another 2023, right? And you don't know if the next time it's not 8 months, it's 12 months or 15, sure. Right? And so I think that, especially as firms get bigger, what's worked most of the time, what should work most of the time. That's most people's kind of average, kind of tendency, especially if we are, in the middle of the firm, we're not at the top, we're comfortable at the trading desk or sales or wherever we are. It's very tough. You can't yourself make the changes, and everyone has to agree around you, and it's much easier if things just stay the same.
Yeah.
And you can't, blame people for that thing, but that is a very dangerous attitude that if management at the top today does not get a handle on, people will go extinct relatively fast. And people think that, I work at a pretty big firm. In comparison to large financial companies, the biggest firm in our industry is nothing.
Yeah,
right?
Sure.
And it's can be crushed relatively quickly. And I think that's something where I think the people who were 24 is starting, some people woke up a little bit more. You're going to see a lot of changes over the next few years. Will people change the value proposition more for clients? Not just in risk in the back end, but also to stuff end user can see. And I think that's going to be it's going to start to differentiate people.
Can you elaborate a little bit about this marriage between ATFX and TraderTools?
Sure. So
what kind of value it brings?
Yeah. So TraderTools primarily sells. Our primary product today is we sell an HFT market making toolkit in a box. Okay, we call it Price On, and to essentially it's for banks or the traditional TraderTools clients, and now for brokers too, to essentially take all the risk that you are taking and synthesize it in a different way, right? So everybody has their B book and A book, and there is a middle way to do this where you can still have some in the B, but there's lots of flow that doesn't fit neatly into a B once you take into account markups and all the other streams of revenue. And there's a way to make earnings better, higher, more steady. And I think that what we brought is traditional power of institutional market making for the retail broker, right? It's a very new skill, and a lot of people don't know how to, do it. So it's a slow sell, right, for a lot of people. But someone like ATFX saw that as, what, we don't want to just be a client. We actually, want to really help us hire a team, help us do all of the stuff, and really go in and let's take this, and make the changes a faster way and a much deeper things. I think it's been a really good,
interesting,
good marriage in that sense.
Interesting, successful marriage, which is rare these days.
Very hard to do.
Lastly, I'd like to ask you, you're not a new face on FMLS. How do you see this event evolving and contributing to the industry? What do you get from it?
So I think that, the London event in particular It's probably the event, in my view, that has the most senior people in it, right? And I think for, especially when I was the CEO of FXCM, and you most of the time you are firefighting crisis and problems, and you interact with a small circle of people, right, for it, and it's very hard to go. You have 1,200 people working for you to find out what's really going on, and you can have conversations with people who talk to clients. How long? 5 minutes, 10 minutes? How honest are they going to be with you? Yeah. All of those things. Mm-hmm. And I think a conference like this gives you a chance for a good humbling moment to come and see, okay, to try you interact with clients yourself and see like, yeah, but what about this and this and this and this, which your people will never tell you, right? And I think that's been very helpful for me. And it's been great. Obviously, it's such a global business that I always tell Michael, this is like the conferences that saved my marriage, right, for the last 20 years, is that you come here and you meet 20 business trips worth of meetings, the whole week, not just at the conference, because people come here from all over the world. So I don't have to fly to 10 other places where there's 3 brokers.
Huge money saver, time saver.
It's a huge time saver, right? So I mean, from that's always been for me like the biggest thing. But I also, you get to learn a lot just from speaking to people you don't speak to usually, competitors, colleagues, vendors that you interact with on a different level than before. And I think that's been it's a very powerful thing, and I think people don't come here sometimes to sell too much, and like, it's not that, I do that too, but I always come here to listen more than I sell, because I think that just, even when you're successful, you just always have to see like, God, there is so many other people that have, whether it's their little corner of their world or their geography or their niche in their industry, that have done things that like, wow, like I never even knew that was possible, or didn't take it seriously, or even if you intellectually knew that this was something, unless you hear it from the horse's mouth, right? It's hard to then say, okay, like let's take that more seriously. Yeah. So be it. For how many years we've been talking about crypto, how many years we're talking about prop, how many other things, like you really have to go and see people who are doing it and see like, oh my God, like how many clients are doing this, and to really say, oh wow, actually I'm gonna pay some of these things, and there's 10 other things like that, like much more attention.
Drew, pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, thanks you for having me. Absolutely.